It is a watch that they invested $0 in other than changing the dial.
Yeah.
But what else could it be? And it's a watch that they've had out for years and years and years.
Felix will have to blank this out, but I feel like the Easter Bunny. I mean, it's every color is an Easter egg color that's coming out, and they're just not for me.
People look at Tudor as a traditional watch company. But the reality is, Tudor is Rolex's way of doing things that people want from Rolex that they are unwilling to do because they are conservative. Hey guys, we're not going to do anything innovative. We're simply going to offer you a new dial color. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about Tudor's new release. They've recently announced that they're going to release a new chronograph called the Flamingo, and we're going to talk about our thoughts on this release. Is it good? Is it bad? And everything in between. We'll probably talk about what social is saying about it, and just go through some Reddit posts and things like that. Before we get into the Tudor discussion, we'll do a wrist check. Today, I am wearing my Alanga Nzuna 1817 annual calendar. I, adore this watch. It really is my first big boy piece, I guess, as far as combination of precious metal, complication, esteemed watch house, all of that kind of wrapped into one. A lot that was going on in my life that I wanted to celebrate. So this is the watch that I picked up, and it's a piece that I guess I'll have in my collection forever. I don't see a reason to ever get rid of it. What about you? What are you wearing?
My first Rolex. So Yachtmaster, same thing. It was a celebratory piece. It was like I had got a promotion in my career. It was a big purchase for me at the time. That I think it was not as large of a gap, but I went from like a Tag Carrera. Was like my
couple grand.
Yeah, I spent a couple grand, and then I think I picked this one up almost brand new for it was used, but it was almost brand new condition for like $7,000 or $6,800.
Yeah.
And so
it was a big purchase.
Back then,
that was a big purchase.
Yeah, that made me nervous. Like I remember getting it and like not feel. I still was like not feeling good for a couple of days. Every time I make a purchase, I get kind of sick feeling, and I'm like,
I'm pretty sure you had a migraine the next day.
I did. Yeah.
If I remember right, I remember coming to your house and you were like laying on your couch.
I'm like, dude, I'm not even happy with my watch. I can't even look at it right now.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy because I remember I was like, I can't imagine spending $7,000 on a watch at that time.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I can't believe you just did that.
I didn't even have somebody to celebrate with because you were kind of like, that's a dumbass decision.
Yeah. At that time, I was like, no, there's no way, man. You can get all kind of awesome watches for $500.
You know how many guns you could get for it?
What are you thinking?
Yeah. You get like 30 fossils.
Right.
300 fossils.
Dude, you know how many Timexes you can get?
Yeah, right.
What a great piece. I love what that piece represents. Really,
it's sentimental. I'll probably just pass this on to my son.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Daughter, whoever, one of my kids.
Yeah. Or when you die, maybe I can get it.
Well, I thought last episode we decided you were dying before me.
Well, I mean, who knows?
Well, that's the way. We've already documented, so it needs to go that way.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, you want to get into what Tudor has released?
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you don't know, Tudor has released a new chronograph. They're calling it the Flamingo, and it is a blue dial. I'll be honest with you, it's a Tiffany blue dial. That's pretty much, they've jumped on the Tiffany blue bandwagon. They've released this watch, and why they're calling it the Flamingo, they've given a reason. I don't necessarily think it aligns very well, but they already have a pink one, and if you were going to call something a Flamingo, I think you would call the pink one a Flamingo. But this is Tiffany blue, and they say that they're calling it Flamingo because of the color of the water that flamingos typically bathe and eat in. So that's where the turquoise, pristine blue water is represents the dial, and so they call it the Flamingo. So
Could have been like 900 other choices.
I don't know.
Hey, let's roll with that.
I've seen other people refusing to call it the Flamingo. They're calling it like the mint chocolate chip or something like that. I've seen a few people say that. Who knows what name's going to catch on? I'm assuming Flamingo will. But we'll talk about the design first. For me, I think that it's the same watch. There is nothing that's different in design than their standard chronograph that they had before. They simply have just changed the dial color. Do you know anything different?
Nah, I mean, it's hard for me to get excited about the. I mean, I'm excited to like talk about it and really just talk shit about it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm like disappointed. I shouldn't be because it's like the play, you know. I was pretty excited when because I own one of their chronos. I have the Panda.
The Panda,
and I was excited when that came out. I liked that it was more of a limited. It's not a limited run, but there was less in ADs. Kind of understood the pink one. You know, it was a departure. It was playful, wild.
Neither you or I like that pink one.
I don't. No, I don't at all. And I'm same feeling about this. It's just, I feel like they've Felix, I have to blank this out, but I feel like they f***ed the Easter Bunny. I mean, it's every color is an Easter egg color that's coming out, and they're just not for me. For some folks, yeah, cool, but
Tudor is really high on the horse with this release. They're calling this part of their Daring Watch collection. So they've dubbed this their Daring Watch collection, as if somehow this is
colors daring.
Yeah, somehow this is some extreme version of their chronograph, and it's the same damn chronograph, just with a Tiffany blue dial. I'm not sure why people would consider this to be daring. And listen, I know a lot of viewers out there probably love this piece because I know a lot of viewers love the pink chronograph.
Yeah. And that's cool. Good.
Yeah.
Each his own, right?
But I just get disappointed. Imagine if, I don't know, you could name any car, Lexus. Imagine if Lexus had the same car for 5 years and you're like, man, I cannot wait for them to redesign this thing. They're going to improve the horsepower. They're going to straighten out the lines. They're going to
add some new colorways.
They're going to make it so much better. And then Lexus is like, hey, you know what, guys? After 5 years, we're just going to offer this car in a color that we never offered it before. That's what. Wow. I mean, how disappointed would you be? That is what Tudor is doing here. They're like, hey, we've had this watch for a while. We're not redesigning the case. We're not doing anything different with the bezel. Handset's still the same. Same duo layout as far as the chronograph is concerned. But you know what, guys? We're going to put it in a new color.
I mean, I would have been excited. So I would have some level of excitement if Tudor would have just slimmed it down. Like, make it not as chunky. Like, do something.
They have to rework the movement to do that.
That's fine. If you want to be daring, if you want to call this daring, right now you're not really, in my opinion, it's not really. That's not a daring watch.
I mean, it's a big watch, man.
It
sits tall. I don't like the look of it on the wrist. I just don't. Now, if it were a few millimeters thinner, it would completely be a game changer.
I would want it to be, in my opinion, this is me. I would want it to compete for the Daytona spot that everybody loves. You're doing an episode that may be released this time about like chronos that can fill that gap. And I feel like Tudor could do that if they were to slim it down, tighten it up. That was really a placeholder for me waiting for a Daytona. And then the more I wear it, the more disappointed I get.
I think it's a lot of people have it in their collection as a placeholder for a Daytona, a bunch, which is fine. I think that is a good placeholder, to be honest. When you talk about overlapping with Rolex, I'm not sure that it's necessarily eating into any of what Rolex is doing, but I do think that it's the same play that Rolex has been doing forever. And that is, hey guys, we're not going to do anything innovative. We're simply going to offer you a new dial color.
Yep.
So Tudor has definitely fallen into the same bucket that Rolex has.
The daringly lazy bucket.
Yeah. When you think about that, I mean, I think a lot of people hated the Cubitus when it came out. And it's a lazy design, in my opinion, but at least they did try a new design.
It deviates far from everything else that they have.
Right. So, if you're going to have a daring collection, then have a daring collection. Come out with that color, but come out with something new. A thinner case.
A smaller case.
A smaller case. A smaller and thinner case.
Give me a 39.
With that blue. That would have been something that I think the watch world would have gone bananas over. Yeah. And I would have been on board for.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people that probably also agree with us that are like, dude, this is so boring. It's just another color, same watch. But had you redesigned that case slightly and then offered that color, then I think it could be part of a daring collection.
Right. Or just a limited run too. You could do that as well and like say, hey, we're making, X number of these, and that's it.
Yeah.
That would have put an edge on it as well.
Tudor's always been known for, I think, being a value-oriented watch. Their price point has always been really good. What's the price point on the Flamingo?
It's $58.75, I believe.
$58.75. Here's what I'll say: at $5,800, $5,900, I don't think that there's a ton of value there. In fact, I just recorded a video that hasn't been released yet, but it was 11 chronographs that are substitutes to the Daytona. And the Tudor Chrono did not make my list as a substitute. And really the reason is because there are so many other chronographs available around 3,500 and below that offer a ton of value and I think are good substitutes for a Daytona. Yeah. It's because of the price point of this Tudor. This Tudor had been, say, $4,200 or something like that, probably would have made the list. But at the price that it's at right now, I honestly think that Tudor is starting to become overpriced.
Yeah, I agree, especially when I'm thinking about, like, not to give away your episode, but like the Baltic, that has very vintage vibes, and I believe it's $1,700 or something like that, $1,800. I could be off on the price, but somewhere in that ballpark, and that Baltic touches the Daytona vibes better than the Panda. They may not even be having that in their thought process of like this is a placeholder, but for a lot of collectors it was, and so I think it definitely misses the mark there.
The Baltic, though, to be fair, is not nearly as good of a movement, and so you could argue that all day, really. Yeah. But when you do look at other brands such as like Longines, that is a sweet spot as an alternative. It's a beautiful chronograph, and that thing's priced at, I think, around $3,500.
Right.
So you get a ton of value out of that chronograph compared to this Tudor, which, by the way, the Tudor movement is a Breitling movement. The chronograph is a Breitling movement. So, which is why I think people have expected at some point, and maybe they expected in this release, that Tudor would have their own movement, something exciting instead of using Breitling's movement, right?
Yeah.
And the name choice, we touched on it at the very beginning, the Flamingo. I don't understand that at all. I get the Miami vibes. I think that they're trying to attach this to that Miami Beach vibe, and the Flamingo plays into that a little bit. But I think they could have done a better job, honestly, of naming it.
Tudor Miami. I mean,
call it the Miami.
Because you can technically go hit like a Tudor Tokyo where they have a huge market and do like Tokyo-based colors. I know that I've got like lights on the back set of my computer. Tokyo has its own set. They have a Miami vibe set.
Nice.
Miami is like teal and pink.
Yeah.
And I think that you could have gone with that and had a big, big run at it.
I like that naming a lot better.
Yeah.
That naming structure makes sense to me, right?
Tudor, you're welcome.
Yeah. You should be listening, Tudor. Okay, and then the movement debate that we've touched on, I just think that they completely missed the ball on this release.
Yeah, agreed.
The Flamingo is not going to be limited, which kudos to Tudor for not saying limited and then changing their position on it. So they're announcing this as a not necessarily a limited, but I do think when I was reading that it was not going to be high production.
Yeah, low run watch.
I think it's going to be a lower run watch, but technically not limited, which is fine.
And Omega's done the same thing. Yeah, they do it with the Snoopy. We're not going to end it, or we don't have an end in sight or planned, but we're just not making a ton of them.
We're just not going to make a bunch of them.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I've checked out, I've gotten a lot of my information about this release just off social. Yeah. And I'm sure we can pop up a couple of different social posts, but people are losing their mind over this watch. And it is literally a dial color. I'm not saying it's a bad dial color. I think you and I might have differing opinions. You don't like the dial color. Am I right on that?
I don't like any of the pastel colors on those. Like, it would be the same thing if they came out with the Daytona. You know, if Rolex decided to do a Tiffany blue Daytona, I'm not a buyer for that.
Yeah.
It's wearability for me. I'm looking at, like, as a collector for flippers, and it's what's hot and all of that jazz. Or, hey, listen, if you're that guy that you're always going to wear vibrant clothes and you're like, this is the perfect beach watch for me.
Yeah.
Awesome. I don't knock people that love it, but it's just not my flavor.
It's not your color, right?
Yeah.
So I differ in that I do like this color.
Mm-hmm.
So the color itself, I dig. I'm like, oh man, I could buy that watch. I'm not going to buy this watch though, because there's other things that I don't like. I don't like the bulkiness of it. I don't like how high it sits on the wrist. I don't really like the case shape. At that size, 41 millimeters, it's just too big. Now, again, if they drop that down to 39 and a half, they slimmed it up with that dial color, I would have been a buyer.
That'd be on point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I do, it's not that, like, again, like, I look at the OP that's a similar color.
Mm-hmm.
I would wear that watch.
Yeah.
It's just a simpler watch to me.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like that, given all the facts you just listed, the thickness and all, it's just, again, it's just, it's not for me, but.
Yeah, no, I get it. So David Beckham obviously is a brand ambassador for Tudor.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the big news was that he apparently wore this watch during a launch for his own brand. He has a supplement line, and he wore this watch during his launching of the supplement line. So that made a bunch of news. I'm not sure why. Guess because it's David Beckham. I mean, that guy, anything he touches seems to, garner a lot of attention.
I think that's probably by design. Let me launch this to him first, or the same thing that you see Mark Wahlberg rocking watches prior to them even being mentioned
announced release. Yeah.
So,
I'm assuming Tudor is going to adorn this watch with a bunch of other celebrities, not just David Beckham. So they're going to keep the hype train going by letting other celebrities have access to this watch, and then putting it on social or people spotting it on their wrist. It's just part of the game now. I'm not mad about that part, but when you think of a low run watch and you send it out to 50 different celebrities, it loses some of its specialness, I guess. Yeah, $58.75 retail, and part of the Daring collection. I think the interesting part also is when they announced this watch, apparently they pulled the pink chrono off of the website. So there were some Reddit posts that we were looking at, and people are like, pink chrono gone from Tudor website. And there was a long post of people talking about, where did it go? They couldn't find it. And eventually they did bring it back onto the website, but this Daring collection that we're talking about, now it's these two watches.
Okay.
So the pink chrono and the Flamingo are now in their Daring collection,
right,
for Tudor. Again, I don't know how daring that is, but I did. You already mentioned it, talking about the slimness of the watch. There was a comment on here. So this other guy, Massive Promises 5785, he said, they need to stop making new dials and invest in making this thing thinner. And that guy is spot on.
Nailed it. Yeah.
Nailed it. Even if it was still 41 millimeters and it was just thinner, it would just look so much better on the wrist. But it would be nice if they made it smaller and thinner. I think people look at Tudor as a traditional watch company. But the reality is it's Rolex's way. This is my opinion. This is my perception. Tudor is Rolex's way of doing things that people want from Rolex that they are unwilling to do because they are conservative, and they allow Tudor to do it. So I'm not necessarily upset that, and I definitely don't think that this is a Daring collection. I think this is something that Tudor has had in their playbook for years. and they're, added a dial color. That's great. It's not as exciting as a lot of people think, but I also don't think that they have broken the mold in releasing these two fun colors, and that somehow is outside of what Tudor generally does. In my mind, I think Tudor has done some other playful and fun things besides just this. Yeah. So, I don't know, if there's anything else that you have as far as thoughts go.
No, I mean, I would love to and this will never happen, but I'd love to talk to, a brand or market, marketing Rolex or Tudor teammate and understand. I think that would help the collecting world to just understand kind of where their thought process is. If it's daring for them, I just don't. To me, that's a crappy marketing play, and it just feels lame. It's like lazy and lame come to mind.
It's definitely lazy. It's lazier than Patek, and everybody was bashing Patek. I mean, the reality is it's lazier. And here's the reason that they did it. They did it because it's a money grab. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Please, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me this is not a money grab. It is a watch that they invested $0 in other than changing the dial. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what else could it be? And it's a watch that they've had out for years and years and years. So, when you're talking about you'd love to sit in there and know the reason is because it's just a way for them to increase revenue. It's a way for them to garner attention through free marketing, essentially. And they're hoping that because people can't get the blue color, that they're then just going to buy a different Tudor.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, for me, daring would be like, hey, let's offer 10 colorways on this. Just let's go ahead and get it out of the way and make them bespoke. You just can't go get it, but you can get in there and get a turquoise or a mint green or, wild colors.
Was that what we're going to see next year? We're going to see mint green.
I mean, I want some royalties if y'all did. Oh, yeah, mint green, yellow. Or did they ever do yellow?
No, I don't know. But I bet they do mint green.
Sherbet orange. I mean, there's, I don't know. Just get off the pastel train, guys. I'm talking to Tudor. Let's stop being lazy.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please give it a like. We want to hear your comments. Do you love this new release? Is this like everything that you've been waiting for and everything you've wished for? Or do you align with me and Mike and think that this is, a load of crap? I do want to hear it. I would love to have some conversation in the comments. So comment away and we'll be sure to answer and get some conversation going. So I guess until then, we'll see you in the next one.